This is my Crested Gecko aquarium setup. I've been through a lot with this, but this video is to tell you about my failure and tragedy in the past. This isn't an easy animal to take care of, no matter who tells you that. They're a very sensitive and delicate creature. As you can see, I have the humidity maintained. There's humidity maintained in there. There's temperature maintained. You can see that I have a thermostat. Right here I have a temperature, a probe, so that I can measure. It's digital so that it's more accurate. And then also behind the bamboo there is a thermostat that I can turn on and off. Well, actually the thermostat is always on, but the actual light I can turn on or off. And the thermostat, the thermostat I always have set on in 2 parameters, and then I have the light that I can turn on or off. So if I want that on and off, I don't have to readjust the thermostat. And I have the fountain that's always running, and then I also have some the main thing for humidity control is that I have a drainage layer and some peat moss, soil, and sphagnum moss. And I also have a lot of hides in here. And by hides, I mean that I have a cage. This is a cave for the Crested Geckos. This is an Exoterra. Most of this stuff is Exoterra. So this is a cave that I have here, and I don't ever like stick my fingers in the cage, you know, but I can like lift up, the cave, but I can lift up and look in there. And I also have this log. This is a thick log I keep in here. And I used to have I think it is called dahlia wood, or Bombay wood, and I have one of the pieces in the aquarium, but I actually would not recommend the Bombay wood because I had a gecko get stuck inside of, I think it's like the lace. It looks like a lace, but it's super thick and there's little holes in it. And it's from, I think it's from Malaysia. I think it's from Malaysia. And I would not recommend that because I actually had to use a saw to cut that open to take out my lizard, which was extremely frightening. Especially because I think I ended up not having to use a power tool, but I might have. I also have what here? So I have this is I just put water in here sometimes, but I don't use that very often. And then I have I have a magnetic dish. This is like a magnetic styrofoam molded. Again, I don't know what brand that is, but I just use the stainless steel here so that I can wash and reuse those. Then of course I have a fountain. And I have various woods in here. 2 woods, 2 woods here, and I also have another cork here. And they love this cork. But this is a naturalistic type setup. The only stuff in here that I don't have that isn't naturalistic is I have a drainage tube here. That is actually the hardware of the aquarium. And I also have a stand here, a plant stand. I'll tilt the camera I have a plant stand there so that I don't have to struggle with the fountain, because the fountain, you don't want to get frustrated or upset if you're having troubles with your fountain, because there's about I think that holds about almost 2 liters of water, so that's actually maybe 1.5 liters. And then actually I'll just zoom in, see if you can see this. You might not be able to see it. Yeah, I have kind of something along the lines that you would put in with a parakeet cage, but actually it was a gift. But I have a mirror right there. Where can you see this? This is a mirror. Yeah, that's a mirror, because they actually like to look at themselves. Oh, and I have a net here. I have a net here. So this is different than my last setup. So my last setup they were a pair from locally, and they were bonded pair. They both had frog butts, so they were both frog butts, and they really got along. And then but I was brand new to everything. So, but this video in particular is about how to avoid losing slash also what to do if one of your little dudes escapes. So that little dude, actually, I'm not going to share her name, or I think it might be too early, but I think that is a her. But actually her name is specifically related to how flirtatious these animals can be. So the first thing, how this setup is different than my original setup. This is kind of a larger, like on the larger end of what you can buy in standard cages. Is important that they have enough room. So the first thing that you already may have ventured to guess is that I have a lot of hides in here. So there is plenty to keep them busy, and they're already interested in what's going on here. I also have another piece of wood that is actually sat up on top of the lights that I use as a weight to keep everything down. So anyway, so I'll just start the sad story now. So I had a towel on top of my last setup because I was having a really tough time keeping both the humidity and the heat within the range. And the range, I think the range, you want to keep it between, I want to say like 50 to 80% humidity. And I think also the temperature, I never let the temperature drop below like 72 is pretty low. And on the high side, I don't really like to let it go above 90. A lot of references say above that, but the problem is once it gets above 90, like it's really easy for that to skyrocket. So I had a towel over the top to help control the humidity. And I was running into a lot of problems with, like, I don't even remember what it was, like, having the towel and the light, and, am I using light? Am I using ceramic? So anyways, I ended up having a towel without this screen mesh that comes pre-installed into the cage. And without knowing that it was a problem, I removed that and put the light on and then covered it with a towel. And I ran into the issue of not thinking it through, and so even though I had it down, the lizard escaped during the day or at night, and so I noticed, and so I'm looking up videos on YouTube, and there's these videos about, well, what you should do is you should get a little one of those old toys that's like a hollow bell, and what you want to do is you want to stuff crickets in there, and you want to make sure that these crickets are alive so that they start chirping. And then when the gecko hears the chirps, they'll be activated, that they're in a safe environment, and they will respond with, and then I was looking at videos on, what does a male mating sound call like? What does a female mating call sound like? And I was just like typing in these videos, hoping to get a rise out of the gecko, if you can, pretty easily follow along with that. And so what I started to do is I was like looking around, and very astutely some of the other content uploaders recommended, look in all of these crevices, look around the cage. They like to stay by their cage. And so, but I was getting success with the male lizard making mating calls, and I could hear the mating calls. And what I came to realize or hypothesize this morning is that I do believe that just as certain humans are able to throw their voice, I'm guessing, and I'm actually pretty confident about this guess, that geckos can throw their voices. So, I was getting nervous, like, I wanted to keep, I was thinking, like, where would be a good hiding spot? So I was thinking, the kitchen would be a good hiding spot. So I'm looking over in the kitchen, I'm looking all over around in the kitchen. I'm also thinking, the bathroom would also be a good hiding spot. So I'm looking all in the bathroom. Now, what I came to realize this morning is, how would that situation look like to the gecko? So to the gecko, I'm already rooting around in the bathroom all the time. No, but in the kitchen, I don't do as much rooting around. And when I'm in the kitchen, that's where I hear him the most. I hear him most in the kitchen. So I'm starting to root around in the kitchen more often. So often to the point that I set up one of my old humidifiers in the kitchen. And I put some of his favorite things in the kitchen. And I even, put out some food. And I noticed the food was gone some days. And and this is tragic, it's not a fun story, because it ended up that he passed. But I did end up finding him. But once he got out, it was like he had like a taste of freedom, if that kind of makes sense. So, he was like always wanting to go out, because I think that he felt safe now. He was like, well, I left and I was gone and I came back and everything's fine now. In fact, everything's better now. So, it's not a big deal if I leave, but actually it was a big deal. And so he ended up, the second time, he ended up leaving again, and and I figured he was a goner at a certain point, and once we accepted that he was a goner, his female counterpart escaped, and I actually found her remains, and I gave her a nice funeral, and that was very sad. But so my hope is that if anyone is watching this video, they can learn from my mistakes. And so I've already described all of these hides that I have here. I have different layers, different hides, so that's why that's really important. And I also let's see, I also want to say that I do think it's important to maybe take them out sometimes, because that way they get this social interaction, but it can be hard to hold them and everything. So what I'll just describe it. I'm not going to show on camera, but what I have for if I want to hang out with them, I have a mesh laundry bin that I bought, and it's one of the foldable mesh laundry bins, and then I have another fold. So I wouldn't do what I did and set up a safety zone outside of their actual habitat, because the only safe place for them is their habitat. So to set up what's perceived to be as a safety zone can confuse both you and your pet. So my only suggestion would be, if you hear your gecko and they are lost, to do all of your rooting around in the cage area. Do all your rooting around in the cage area, and if you're cleaning, you can maybe accidentally throw a sweater underneath your cage, or accidentally put something by your cage, and then check it, and put all of your concern and all of your worry right by the cage. And just do business as usual in the kitchen and bathroom, and actually it might do well to avoid those areas. If you can go to the bathroom at school or work, do that, so that they're not thinking, hey, I'm trying to find my mom or dad. If I'm trying to find my mom or dad, I'm gonna go where mom or dad is. So if you're worried that your gecko is in the kitchen and you're spending time in the kitchen, then they're gonna go to you. And if you set up cues that, hey, you might be here, I'm gonna leave a breadcrumb here for you, if you will, then they're gonna go to that breadcrumb. So just put breadcrumbs by the cage, and just put all your concern by the cage. Don't be looking at any doors. Don't freak out about the doors. Okay? If you have a concern about, here's a good one, because I was really concerned there was a gap underneath the door, and I was really concerned about this gap underneath the door. And I was putting a lot of stress under the door. You would not believe the amount of stress. It ended up being, it didn't fare well for my friend. But, so my suggestion upon thinking about all of this is that a better thing to do would have been to just close the door from the outside, and when I'm in the hallway of the apartment, just throw a towel from the outside, because then your friend will not see you worrying. If you want to worry, just do it from the outside, so that and even if you believe that he knows what you're doing or she knows what you're doing, he can pick up on that cue. So it's just like what they say, that's a example of what's it called? The Secret, right? It's kind of like failed positive psychology. So I think this friend here is looking a little bit dry. So, let's see. Oops. Yep. So, anyways, I really hope that this helps somebody.